Now, in my parish, I'll give lectures on the meaning of today's propers, whatever they happen to be, and I'll discuss them at great length. And always the hand goes up and says, look, that chant you're discussing is being sung during communion. I'm not really listening, really. I'm just thinking about receiving communion. Am I expected to be, sort of standing there listening to the schola and deconstructing everything you're doing and coming to recognize all this stuff? And my answer to that is absolutely no, because the purpose of the chant is not to create a cognitive understanding. That's not its primary purpose. It's not primarily like a homily. It's not designed to just convey information in that sense. The understanding we receive from chant comes through its repeated use over many years. It grabs you slowly. And you know what? You never quite fully grasp it, which keeps you intrigued enough to continue to be interested. And it makes it possible to bear it out week after week after week, century after century, millennia after millennia. I mean, this is why chant lasts, precisely because it is not immediate music. In real life, I'm an economist, and a couple of weeks ago, a rap video came out on YouTube that discusses business cycle theory. And it does it absolutely brilliantly. In about 7 minutes, explains the difference between monetarist theory, Keynesian theory, and Austrian theory about the nature of the business cycle. It's absolutely brilliant pedagogy. It's wonderful pedagogy. It's all shaped in the form of rap video. If the goal of music of the mass was to achieve that kind of pedagogy, then perhaps rap music would be suitable, leaving aside all of the questions. Right? Rap does convey the message. But that's not what chant does. Chant is prayer. And it's supposed to be intriguing and even a little bit remote. So if you find chant to be remote and difficult, that's good. That's a good thing. That means that you're beginning to understand it in that way. Right? It should be difficult. It's something that should last and last. The other thing about chant is it has melodies that sometimes strike you long before the text does. I'm very happy about this. Christmas morning now, for 5 years, we've sung the introit on Christmas morning. Two notes in one word. But what does it mean? It means Christmas. And to whom does it mean this? It means Christmas to every generation of Christians, as far back as we can look in history. It's remarkable, isn't it? And when we hear that, we hear the same sounds that were probably heard in the 9th and the 10th centuries in most places in the world. And if we handle ourselves right, in another century, they'll be hearing the same sounds then too. That's a remarkable thing. So that just those notes, they signal something in our brains. In the same way where we hear dum da 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 dum, we know what that means, right? What comes to mind? Birthday party, right? So we hear the music itself sends off a signal and helps us get into the liturgical spirit. Without it, we're missing something extremely important. Now, I do believe that music is, the Second Vatican Council says that it ennobles the liturgy, and I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And I've often used this example, going back to the birthday thing. Imagine if you had a birthday party, you walked in with a cake and you said, "Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Charlotte. Happy birthday to you." I mean, can you imagine how dour everybody would feel? It would be catastrophic. I have a little girl named Charlotte. She just had a birthday. If I had done that, I think she would have never forgotten. She would be depressed all day long. And yet we tolerate this in our liturgies week after week. And we wonder why we feel so glum and bored at Mass. Singing changes everything. It does change everything. I think we have great reason to be optimistic. Let me just mention something else about chant. And we have with us, in fact, we're very honored to have with us Father Samuel Weber, who's in the back of the room, who's been a champion, in a strange way, he's been a champion of English Gregorian style music now for a very long time. And I think it's important because, as a transition measure, because if you can take the language out of the question, out of the issue, we make the music a little more accessible to people. It doesn't seem quite as forbidding and scary. And even in English, we capture something extremely important about the chant that I haven't mentioned thus far, namely that Gregorian music is not metered music. And I think most of you are musicians and you understand what that means. It's not entirely obvious to non-musicians. Most all the music we sing in Mass is divided into a strict meter. Dum, dum. Oh, we don't sing that song. I was about to sing Stars and Stripes Forever. That's a good example. Bum, dum, da, dum, bum, 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 dum, da, dum, da, dum, 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 da, dum, dum, dum. It's true for jazz too. Scalpel from the apple. So everything has a strict meter, right? Chant is completely different. We're free of all that stuff. There's no strict boundaries to it. So that it has a striking freedom to it. It doesn't land on the ground beat after beat after beat like walking. Instead, it's always ascending upwards into the air. And it's unusual music, I think, for the modern ear. People have a hard time getting used to it. So for a long time in my school, we started singing lots of these English chants that get people free of the sense of expecting meter to help them sing. And in so doing, they find their own voices. It's a wonderful way. We've got a little extra beat in there. It helps if you can learn to sing that. It's plain chant, so it flows more. And in that sense, it's more prayerful. So this is an aspect of chant. You know, the early Christians had every opportunity to sing metered music. They had every opportunity to sing rhymed music. It was all over the place in the ancient world. Rhymed, metered music with tambourines and dances and things like that. They rejected it all. They were far more tough-minded than all of us were. They wanted nothing to do with that. What did they sing? They sang the Psalms. The Psalms don't rhyme. And they sang them according to free rhythm, meaning it was all plain song. They wanted nothing whatever to do with the Greek style, dance style music. And this was the attitude that was pervasive in the church for 1,000 years, even longer. That's another reason I think we have to embrace chant. And it's one of the things that English chant does for us, is it helps us to learn to sing unmetered music. And I would strongly encourage you, I know there are lots of debates and discussions about the questions about accompaniment, accompanied chant. Was chant accompanied during the first 1,000 years of Christianity? No, it wasn't, right? Accompaniment came along much later. Supposedly we use the phrase, support the singing, right? We use organ to support the singing. I think what this means is that choir masters just got tired of their scolas going flat, really. I mean, that's most of all the people I know that use organ accompanied chant. They don't want the voice to sink down and to lose a half step or a whole step in the course of the chant. That's what it's all about. But from the point of view of congregational participation in chant, it's been my experience that organ does not help. In fact, it actually hinders. We don't use any organ in our masses at all, with the exception of organ solos. But when people are singing, the organ shuts off completely, so that people can experience what it's like to hear themselves making a sound of their voice that contributes to the Mass. It's a beautiful and wonderful experience. And initially, nobody will sing, but over a course of weeks and months, it really picks up. And now we have to sing in this congregation. We sound like the Methodists down the street. Et intera pax omnibus bonem voluntatis. And it's like people sing it very loudly, very beautifully. It's exciting. It takes a little patience. It's not going to happen the first week, but it'll get there. It takes time, but it eventually happens. And now people have a great sense of pride about it. So that unmetered aspect of chant can be achieved, I think, through English.